On July 30th, 2025, the earth trembled under our feet again. Another strong earthquake shook the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia's far east. It had a magnitude of 8.8 on the Richter scale. It happened just off the eastern coast of the peninsula, about 119 kilometers southeast of the city of Petropavlovsk. According to the latest data from the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, the earthquake occurred at a very shallow depth of 20 kilometers. To put this event into context, it is important to know that the peninsula has a history of seismic activity due to its location on the edge of the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, which are constantly colliding. For example, on October 4, 1952, there was a powerful earthquake here with a magnitude of 9.0 on the Richter scale. This event was the second strongest earthquake in the entire 20th century after the Valdivia earthquake of 1960 in Chile, and was also one of the main precursors of a destructive Pacific tsunami. But let's get back to the recent earthquake. At first glance, it may seem that this natural disaster did not cause great destruction and loss of life. However, it would be wrong to say that it caused no casualties at all. According to the latest reports, 3 people died as a result of the earthquake. They were in the city of Severokurilsk, on the island of Paramushe, in the Kuril Islands. There, a tsunami with waves up to 5 meters high hit the coastal city. Video footage shows the moment when the wave crashes ashore. Cars can be seen getting washed away. Several buildings collapsed completely or partially. Information about other victims and the extent of the destruction is yet to come. This earthquake and the resulting tsunami serve as a grim reminder of the devastation that such natural disasters can bring. But there is some good news. Despite its high power, the earthquake did not cause large-scale destruction in other regions. Why is that? First, let's take a look at where exactly the epicenter of the earthquake was located. On the map, it is easy to see that the earthquake occurred quite far from densely populated areas. Only a few small settlements are located near the epicenter. Therefore, the main blow was not so great. In addition, many residents living in low-lying coastal areas were quickly evacuated to safer places, saving many lives. However, the real test was for more distant regions. After the earthquake, a message came from the National Tsunami Warning Center in Hawaii about a possible tsunami threat to the islands of Hawaii. Residents living in coastal areas were advised to move to higher ground or further inland. People were taken to shelters, and many left the danger zone by their own cars. Evacuations were also announced in the western United States and Chile. Some time later, the authorities lifted the tsunami threat for these regions. In California, Oregon, and Washington, a coastal inundation model showed that the waves would be less than half a meter high. In Chile, the waves would be less than a meter high. As a result, no major destruction was expected. A little later, another message came from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. A tsunami with waves up to 1.7 meters high was expected in Hawaii. People were urged to return home, but to continue monitoring the situation. Fortunately, the waves were smaller than predicted. According to preliminary data, there were no significant destructions. In general, this event once again demonstrated the effectiveness of the global tsunami detection system, especially the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. In its official Twitter account, the center posted a graph showing the expected height of the waves. You can see that the tsunami hit the western coast of North America almost 7 hours after the earthquake. In fact, the first waves arrived even earlier than predicted. For example, the tide gauge in Northern California recorded the first wave at 1754 UTC, only 5.5 hours after the earthquake, and the wave was almost 70 centimeters high. The last wave was recorded at 2012 UTC. Its height was almost 50 centimeters. It is worth noting that despite the fact that the tsunami threat has already passed for most countries, the authorities urge residents of coastal areas to remain vigilant. The reason for this is that the tsunami waves generated by this earthquake will continue to affect the coast of South America and New Zealand over the next few days, though their height will be much less than the predicted ones. In addition to the tsunami, the earthquake was felt quite widely. Its tremors were reported in Seoul, Tokyo and Ulaanbaatar, as well as in Alaska and Western Canada. Now it is clear why this event was considered one of the strongest in the history of mankind. It was really felt over a vast territory. However, it is likely that in the coming days, the earthquake will be surpassed in terms of magnitude. Since July, a huge swarm of earthquakes has been shaken the Kamchatka Peninsula. Almost every day, there are dozens of tremors here. Their epicenters are located quite close to each other and the depths are quite small. Such an increase in seismic activity is due to the adjustment of the Earth's crust after the main shock of July. Scientists predict that in the coming days, the Kamchatka Peninsula may experience even stronger earthquakes. In this regard, would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the release of a new video. We will definitely tell you about them. Well, now, let's go back to the earthquake of July. The day before, scientists recorded 133 tremors here. Their magnitude ranged from 3 to 5 points. The local population got used to the tremors. So when the main shock hit, people realized that it was necessary to leave the coastal areas. Unfortunately, this was not the only earthquake that hit the Kamchatka Peninsula in July. A month ago, on July, a strong earthquake with a magnitude of 7.2 hit the peninsula. Then a tsunami warning was issued for the Kuril Islands, but no destructive waves were recorded. To date, the strongest earthquake in the history of the Kamchatka Peninsula was the earthquake of October 1952 with a magnitude of 9.0. It claimed about 2,300 lives and caused great destruction. Back then, a powerful tsunami destroyed entire cities on the peninsula. As we mentioned earlier, the earthquake that occurred on July 30th was followed by numerous aftershocks. For example, on the first day, there were 9 tremors with a magnitude of more than 5. The strongest of them was 5.6. In total, more than 20 aftershocks of various magnitudes were recorded that day. There is still a threat of their occurrence today. The Earth's crust here is still shifting and settling after the main shock. In addition to earthquakes, volcanic activity also occurred in the region. In particular, the eruption of Mount Korli, which is located 50 kilometers southwest of the city of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, began after the earthquake. Lava and ash are falling on the neighboring villages. More than 500 residents had to be evacuated from the danger zone. As you can see, the events that unfolded in late July pose a serious challenge for the residents of earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions do not make life easier for them. But despite all the difficulties, people try to lead their usual way of life. They understand that panic will not resolve the situation. In conclusion, want to say that such events are a reminder of the destructive power of nature and the need for humanity to be prepared for any emergencies. It is important to follow the recommendations of experts and the authorities in order to minimize the consequences of such natural disasters. The earthquake and tsunami that occurred in July were a serious test for the residents of the Kamchatka Peninsula, but they proved their resilience and readiness to meet any challenges. That's all for today. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked the material, please leave a like. Your support helps us create more interesting content. Also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new videos. All the most interesting things about our planet and its inhabitants are yet to come. Until next time.